Hello, dear story lovers. Ready for today's story? Let's go. Imagine a boy named Zayan, who grew up in Dubai, surrounded by everything money could buy. He was a very handsome young man, and everyone admired his honesty and nobility. From a young age, he had the best teachers from Europe and the United States, who taught him everything he needed to know. As he got older, Zayan decided that he wanted to study finance at a prestigious university in London. But his family, who were part of Dubai's elite, had other plans. When Zayan was just 5 years old, his parents had already arranged a marriage for him with a girl from a wealthy family, as was the tradition in his country. At that age, Zayan barely understood what marriage or family meant, so he couldn't care about it. However, when he decided to study in London, his father reminded him of the commitment. "Son, you need to get married soon. Trust me, Safira will be a wonderful wife and mother to your children." But Zayan didn't love Safira, so he responded to his father, "I respect our culture and the traditions of our ancestors, but I need to follow my own path." Zayan always believed that love should be the foundation of any marriage. After spending years in Europe, he absorbed new ideas and developed a modern perspective on relationships. Arranged marriages, as was common in his culture, didn't make sense to him. However, his parents were firm in their beliefs. They argued, persuaded, and appealed to Zayan's sense of duty. With a heavy heart and after many discussions, Zayan finally gave in. He agreed to follow the family tradition but made one demand. First, he wanted to complete his studies. Safira, the young woman Zayan was promised to, was also not enthusiastic about the idea of marriage. She knew they were very different. Their interests and life goals seemed to follow opposite paths. Even so, Safira understood the weight of the promise Zayan had made to his parents. If he broke this promise, both knew it would bring great disappointment to their families. Despite all the uncertainties, something unexpected happened. Over time, Zayan and Safira developed a genuine friendship. They started to get to know each other better, exchanging daily messages and talking on the phone whenever they could, despite the distance and time difference. These conversations created a bond between them that didn't exist before, and slowly, the idea of a loveless marriage seemed less frightening. When Zayan was about to complete his final year at university, he felt the moment was approaching. He asked Safira to start planning the wedding. "Get everything ready," he said, with a tone softer than expected. Safira, though still hesitant, agreed, "I'll organize everything." She wasn't entirely convinced, but there was a determination in her voice, reflecting the respect they both had for duty and the friendship they had built over time. Safira was filled with uncertainties about the approaching marriage. When Zayan heard her hesitant response, he was momentarily surprised. If it had been up to him, he would have backed out without a second thought, but the expectations of his parents and the traditions of his country were forces he couldn't ignore. So, even with a heavy heart, Zayan accepted the idea of the upcoming marriage, though his mind was clouded with doubts. Fate, however, had other plans for Zayan and Safira. Just before Zayan graduated, Safira called him with a long-held desire. She dreamed of visiting London. Safira had always been captivated by the images of the city she saw in photos, with its historic monuments and vibrant streets. More than anything else, she wanted to see London with her own eyes. Zayan, understanding how much this trip meant to her, smiled and agreed to fulfill this wish, especially since they planned to move to London after the wedding and start a new life there. Zayan took Safira's request seriously and offered to organize a tour of London, where she could explore the most iconic places in the city. Safira decided to make the trip with her aunt, someone she trusted and with whom she had always wanted to share this experience. But tragically, fate altered the course of their lives. That morning, the sky was overcast, and the rain was relentless. On their way to the airport, Safira and her aunt were involved in a terrible car accident. The impact was devastating, and Safira, unfortunately, did not survive her injuries. She passed away before help could arrive, leaving Zayan in a state of deep shock and sorrow. Zayan lost his fiancée and best friend that tragic day. Although their marriage had been arranged and true love may never have fully blossomed, they had built a special bond, a genuine friendship that connected them in a unique way. Safira's death was a brutal blow to Zayan, a void he never imagined he would feel so intensely. The streets of London, which once represented a new beginning, now seemed cold and desolate. marked by the absence of someone he never imagined he would lose so soon. Over time, Zayan learned to cope with the pain, but the memory of Safira, her smile, and her dream of seeing London remained alive in his memory as a constant reminder of what could have been. The impact of the tragedy deeply shook Zayan, plunging him into a depression that seemed endless. With a heavy heart, he informed his parents that he had no intention of returning to his homeland, choosing instead to stay in London and build his life there, far from the painful memories. Time passed, and when Zayan turned 35, he received troubling news: his father was gravely ill. Each day, his father felt his strength waning, and in his frailty, he made one final request to his son: to return home and take over the leadership of the family's vast oil empire. Zayan, as the only heir, knew he couldn't refuse. Still filled with uncertainties, he returned to his homeland. At the airport, he was greeted only by his mother, who was visibly worn out, her features marked by worry and sleepless nights. Unfortunately, fate was cruel. 6 months after Zayan's return, his father passed away, leaving deep sorrow among the family and friends. Now the weight of responsibility fell on Zayan, who inherited the multimillion-dollar empire, taking on the role of the new rightful owner. On a busy day, while rushing to an important business meeting, Zayan accidentally bumped into a woman on the street. She was carrying a folder full of documents, which scattered everywhere. Without hesitation, Zayan knelt down to help her gather the papers, sincerely apologizing for his distraction. The woman, surprisingly calm, accepted his apology with an understanding smile, forgiving him immediately. In the brief moments that followed, Zayan was completely captivated by her. Something about the way she handled the situation intrigued and fascinated him, making him feel an unexpected and deep connection that sparked a new interest amidst the chaos of his life. The next day, Zayan went to the motel where Layla worked and invited her out to dinner. To his surprise, even knowing he was a very wealthy man, Layla declined the invitation without hesitation. But Zayan, determined to win her over, used his skill in persuasion to show her that people from different social classes could complement and learn a lot from each other. After much insistence, Layla finally accepted the invitation. From that dinner, something special began to develop between the two. The date was the first of many, and soon they were seeing each other almost every day. Despite their completely different backgrounds, this didn't prevent a strong connection from forming. Layla, however, was reserved about her personal life. Zayan knew only that her parents had passed away, and she rarely mentioned any other relatives or close friends. A year later, despite facing disapproval from Zayan's mother, they decided to get married. Gossip among Zayan's family friends was constant, especially since he was 12 years older than Layla. Many insinuated that Layla was only with him for financial gain, due to his great fortune. But Zayan paid no attention to these rumors and malicious comments, as he knew his feelings for Layla were genuine. Zayan's mother, however, was convinced that Layla, coming from a humble background, was only interested in their money. But Zayan, firm in his decision, didn't let these opinions affect his love for Layla. He believed that, regardless of social differences and others' opinions, what truly mattered was the respect and affection they had built together. Things began to change when even Zayan's personal driver shared his concerns about Layla. The driver revealed that Layla asked to be taken daily to a specific location outside the city. The detail that made Zayan even more uneasy was that the driver didn't know who Layla was visiting, and even suggested that she might be meeting another man. These words ignited a flame of jealousy in Zayan's heart. He couldn't ignore what he had heard. Determined to uncover the truth, Zayan devised a clever plan. Instead of confronting Layla directly, he decided to disguise himself as a driver to follow her without her knowing. The next morning, when Layla asked to be taken to the usual place, Zayan was ready. He dressed in the driver's uniform, carefully ensuring that every detail was in place to avoid being recognized. With the perfect disguise, he took the usual driver's seat and took the wheel. Layla got into the car, suspecting nothing, while Zayan, his heart racing more than ever, drove towards the mysterious destination. As they neared the location, the tension inside the car grew. Zayan was determined to uncover what was happening and why Layla was visiting that place every day. As he navigated the roads, his mind was a whirlwind of possibilities. Was Layla hiding something? Could it really be another man? With every mile, Zayan's anticipation mounted, as he was about to unravel the mystery that had been tormenting him. And so he continued toward the unknown, eager to discover the truth behind Layla's daily visits, unaware of what truly awaited him at that place. When they arrived at the destination, Layla asked the driver to wait in the car while she entered a house that seemed somewhat suspicious. Zayan, still in disguise, stayed in the car for about half an hour, but his curiosity got the best of him. Determined to uncover what was happening, he stepped out of the car and entered the house. What Zayan saw inside left him speechless and brought tears to his eyes. His wife, Layla, was caring for an elderly man who lay bedridden. The man, with hands deformed by arthritis, could barely move. Zayan then removed his disguise, revealing his true identity. Layla, surprised to see him, ran to embrace and kiss him. With a tender look, she explained that the elderly man was her grandfather. Layla confessed that she had been ashamed to tell the truth, as her grandfather didn't want to be a burden to her. All he wished for was Layla's happiness and for her to build a good family. Zayan's heart filled with compassion. He immediately insisted that Layla's grandfather come to live with them. The weight of suspicion that Zayan had been carrying dissipated, and he felt immense joy knowing his worries were unfounded. To complete his happiness, Layla revealed that she was pregnant. Overwhelmed with emotion, Zayan told her, "I couldn't dream of a better woman." He was radiant, certain that he had made the right choice in finding such a loyal and loving wife. Zayan and Layla decided to bring her grandfather to live with them, transforming their home into a place filled with even more love and care. Over time, the presence of Layla's grandfather became a blessing for the family. Not only did he recover somewhat from his pains with the support and affection he received, but he also became a wise and loving figure for the couple, sharing valuable stories and advice. Zayan finally realized that true wealth wasn't in money or status, but in the love and trust that he and Layla shared. He had found not only a loyal and loving wife but also a strong and happy family, now spanning 3 generations. And so they lived together, building a life full of affection, respect, and the certainty that despite the challenges, they could always count on each other. If you were moved by today's story and want to follow more moments filled with love, surprises, and life lessons, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Share it with your friends and family, and get ready to experience more incredible adventures with us. Because love, just like these stories, always finds a way to surprise us. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next story.